To the March 3rd meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. This meeting is being held virtually via Zoom video conference. Please be patient. We'll do our best to be efficient and allow everyone to participate equitably. This meeting is also being broadcast and streamed online by FCTV in real time. As this meeting is being recorded by Zoom and broadcast by FCTV, please be cognizant of what you say, how you say it, what can be seen and heard in your background. I am experiencing video glitch, so please be patient. I think everything's fine, but maybe none of you are seeing it. But so we recognize the attendance and assistance of all our staff members, save for Jen, who abandoned us this week. Kevin and Alyssa are in the house tonight. Thank you very much for your support. Mark, Amy, and Susan, of course. And we also welcome our Board of Selectmen liaison, Sam Patterson. We have two absentees tonight, Mark and Pat. I'd like to remind you that for commissioners for commenting, I'll call on each of you at the appropriate time. Let's try to avoid from speaking over each other. And votes are done by roll call, as you know, even if you've made the motion or the second. To our public participants, there will be an opportunity for public comment for each hearing. If you'd like to comment on a particular hearing, you may submit any comments or questions via the chat function once that hearing has been opened. At the appropriate time, I will call for public comments and any submissions will be read into the record. The link and further instructions are posted on the agenda. Without further ado, first up is vote minutes, February 24, 2021. Anybody?
Mr. Chairman, I reviewed the minutes. There was, and I'm not sure where the correction is because my computer went down during one of the hearings, which one I don't recall. And so I was not able to vote that. And for the record, it should be noted that I should not be on the quorum for voting an order of conditions for it. And I just don't know which one it is, and perhaps somebody else can, can find that in the record.
Okay, I can look up. Go ahead.
Yeah, Courtney, I've already crossed you off that hearing.
Okay, I just want to make sure because I couldn't pick it up in the minutes. Didn't say which one that I missed. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay, so Betsy, would you send that to Susan when you get a minute?
Yeah, well, I don't have it because it was last week, so I don't have last week's quorum sheets.
We can figure this out. We have a document.
Yeah, just make a note that so
that will be corrected.
One of those that I wasn't there for.
Okay.
And the only correction I have, and I'll send it to Susan. I mentioned that the harbor, Falmouth Harbor, was a diadromous fish run, and Susan had a new word for it. I think she used diaphanous, but I'll correct that. I understand that we use these terms, but if you're not familiar with them, Susan, you do a great job. So
all right.
With that, I don't think Courtney has any more changes. I'll make a motion to accept as presented.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll second that.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as corrected. So I'm going to take the vote. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Courtney looks frozen.
Courtney, can you hear? All right, I'll come back. Matthews, aye.
I would just say everybody was frozen on my screen.
Oh, all right. Courtney?
Aye. I guess if we're voting minutes, yeah.
Yes. Matthews, aye. Kevin O'Brien.
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Hello, Hawks, aye.
Peter.
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted the minutes of February 24th. Next up is a request for a continuance under an enforcement order. Claudia Senadis, 51 Pondview Drive, East Falmouth, Mass. Unpermitted removal of vegetation within conservation jurisdiction. I spoke with Jen about this. She has an on-site meeting next week. So in the interest of allowing for that, the applicant is asking for a continuance. Kevin, do you know anything else about that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So the applicant had requested the 17th. We're not meeting the 17th, so we can put them on for the 24th.
All right.
Bird, so moved.
Harlow Hawk second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to continue this enforcement hearing until March 24th. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Harlow Hawk's eye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. This enforcement hearing is continued until 3/24. Next up, requests for determination of applicability. First up, Henry and Winifred Dick, 392 Boxbury Hill Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to improve an existing trail by creating new elevated segments of 6 foot, 15 foot, and 30 foot in length. Mr. Newton.
Mr. Chairman, staff is recommending a -2 under the state and a -3 under the bylaw, and resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Harlow Hawk's eye.
Patton,
Second. I'm sorry, second.
I figured as much. All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. If there's any comments? All right, Betsy.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, sorry, jumped the gun. Yes.
I'm sorry. This just looks like a purely altruistic project from somebody who wants to help people walk around in this neighborhood where we're about to build the solar farm in a couple of years. So it just seemed like a great project. Is there something I'm missing, Kevin? Is it just people being nice to help other people?
Yeah, I mean, you might be right about that. Mark took the lead with this one and did the review of this project. So if you have more questions, I direct it towards Mark.
No, it's just very positive comment. That's all.
Oh, that's good. All right. Anything else? All right. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney? Did we lose Courtney?
Courtney's gone again.
All right. Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Harlow Hawk's eye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
And, all right, I still don't see Courtney, so we still have enough to accept staff's recommendation. Next up, Richard and Carol Joseph, 95 Waterside Drive, North Falmouth, Mass. For permission to construct and maintain a pool house and patio, and to install an E1 effluent pump with all associated utilities and landscaping. Mr. Newton?
Mr. Chairman, staff recommends a -2 under the state and the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
So moved, Harlow Hawk's.
Second, Gladfelter.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Courtney, are you back with us? You're on mute. Oh, and I can see you now. That's scary.
Yeah,
Okay,
sorry, I'm not having a good internet connection tonight. We need better service here in Falmouth.
all right, for another day. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
I will abstain because I didn't hear
Okay.
what it is.
understood. Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Harlow Hawk's eye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
All right, we have accepted staff's recommendation. And again, I'd like to commend Kevin and Kevin because they both seem to know who I'm directed to. It's always helpful. All right. Next up are requests for hearing under a notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. Excuse me. First up is Nicholas Diazo, 105 Meadow Neck Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct a new single-family dwelling with all associated clearing, grading, and landscaping, and to install a Title V septic disposal system and dry wells. Mr. Newton, do you want to start?
Mr. Chairman, I promoted Mr. Bunker to a panelist, and he can begin his presentation.
All right, you're pretty efficient at this. Who needs
yeah.
Jen? Mr. Bunker, you're up.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin, for promoting me. I feel special. Yeah, for the record, Tom Bunker with BSS Design. We've prepared this plan which I will share with you soon for the DSOs on 105 Meadow Neck Road. If I can share, if I see if I can get
Please
the
do.
screen up here in 1 second. Whoops. See it, there it is. And okay. So here is our plan. I can usually work with two screens. Now I see that I can't pan over all the way. So, hold on 1 second. I was just going to show you the. I can't. Let me see. How about that? Just going to show you on the locus map where we are. Meadow Neck Road, on the way down toward. Go past. You're right across from Duck Blind Road. That's on Meadow Neck on their way down toward the town line with Mashpee in this area, and this water body through here is either the Quashnet River or the I have to move this over again.
Unicus.
Or the Moonicus River. So on this plan, we have it labeled the Moonicus River. Out on the left side of the screen, we have a large promontory of salt marsh in this location, and the area is within the flood hazard zone VE elevation 13 of the flood zone in this purple line, and of course the velocity zone. Then we have the Falmouth velocity zone, this 25-foot landward purple dashed line through here. And the resource areas are the salt marsh, edge of the marsh is here, and of course that has a 100-foot A zone, which is this red line right through here. Is the A zone for the salt marsh. This line up closer is a 75-foot A zone for land under the water body, under the river. The topography is steeper than 10 to 1. So along the edge of the velocity zone, there's a coastal bank in a velocity zone, which has a 50-foot zone A, which is this line right here, the 50-foot zone A going through that location there. And this is the 100-foot coastal bank zone B running through this location. The heavy black line is our proposed limit of work. And so you can see that we're in this location. We're not disturbing anything within any zone A, maintaining that. And part of the house and part of the clearing is within the zone B. As you can see, the septic system is further away, so it's about 150 feet away from the coastal bank back in this location. And then it'll have a driveway going out to Meadow Neck Road. Here, so this is a buffer zone only project in a zone B. The zone A's are totally vegetated. And as such, there is no mitigation requirement for doing work in a zone B. And that's the project in a nutshell, as best I can describe it. I'll take any questions from you. I'll stop the share so we can.
Thank you, Tom. All right, Kevin, do you want to start, and or Alyssa?
Yeah, staff can start here. We'll keep it short and sweet. We don't have too many comments on this project as proposed. Tom did a good job here, especially with denoting all the trees on site, especially near the limit of work there. That's always a big thing that the commission looks for. I do have one question, Tom. Are you, offering any improvements to the resource areas here? I know that under the regulations, mitigation is not required, but it does, a suggestion is that an improvement is offered. Is there any sort of improvement that's offered here?
Well, I've often wondered about that requirement when you have the resource area and the zone A itself are undisturbed. What can be offered as an improvement? Maybe, if an osprey pole or something along some lines like that, I'm sure they'd be willing to do something. But otherwise, I wouldn't know. I kind of expected the question, but I wouldn't know really what to offer.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea, and I'll kind of let the commission take the information and figure out what they're expecting here, and you guys can discuss.
I don't know if you can put an osprey pole. You probably wouldn't want to put an osprey pole in the marsh anyway, because of the disturbance it would do. But there's a stretch of upland here that it could go on if that was something that would be accepted.
Okay. Other than that, staff really doesn't have much to say on this project. Alyssa, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I have no further comments.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Betsy, we'll start with you.
Okay, so I have a couple of comments. One is, I think, Tom, you're right. If it's a completely pristine lot, it's difficult to offer an improvement. But a lot of times these lots aren't completely pristine.
Right.
And they might have invasives, etc., that could be dealt with. When you said that, and you have it labeled as the Moonicus, but I looked it up when you were presenting, and you're right, it is the Quashnet. And I'm just wondering, is that subject to riverfront?
No, there's a riverfront. I know on the Quashnet, the riverfront is actually upstream from the bridge.
Okay, further up.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't imagine that Jen would have let that slip by.
No, we checked it, and I know we've done projects upstream from the bridge, and found that it's the mouth of the river is up there.
It is. Okay. Okay, great. Thanks.
All right, Courtney.
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Tom, I don't see anything on here for a Vista corridor or a pathway. Is that something you're going to deal with later as an amendment?
Yeah, so that would have to be, because we're not sure where it's. So yeah, we'd come back with an amendment or at least an RDA for that.
Okay. Just wanted it addressed. Mr. O'Brien.
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Maury.
I think Tom's suggestion of the osprey pole, if it's possible, is an improvement. And I would accept that. And I think it's a good project. Thank you.
All right. Peter?
I think it's a good project. No questions.
Steve?
I think it's a good project. I agree with the chairman's comments. Thank you.
All right. All right, Tom. Yeah, and it's
Mr.
good
Chairman,
plan.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
All right.
Gladfelter, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to close this hearing and take it under advisement. Before we do, is there anything in the chat function, Kevin?
Not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Arlo Hawks Eye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
and Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mr. Bunker.
All right.
We'll see
Thank
a
you.
little
I'll be
later
back.
on, I think. All right. Next up, bear with me. All right. David and Kathleen Devane, 371 Showwood Drive, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to conduct invasive species management to plant native plant species and to establish a 25-foot wide Vista corridor. Mr. Newton.
Mr. Chairman, I've promoted Mike McGrath as a panelist here.
Okay.
Mike, are you there?
Mr. McGrath, are you in the house? There he is.
There's also supposed to be a representative from Clipper Landscape.
Who would that be?
I'm not exactly sure. Well, Mike, why don't I start? Can I split my screen, please? Share my screen.
Yes, sir.
Can you see the plan that I have shown?
No, sir.
No,
I
we can't
love
see you, Mike.
What?
We can't see you.
Mike, you
Is your
have the share
Is your
screen,
video on?
the green arrow. There you go.
All right. And this is a plan that we did that's the base map. And this particular project is on Showwood Drive. It's number 371. It has frontage on Great Pond. The resource areas are there's a dune parallel with Great Pond. Then there's a salt marsh behind it, which is kind of unique. Then there's a bordering vegetated wetland. The shorefront portion of the lot is in a velocity zone. And then there is a AE zone or special flood hazard area with waves that are shallow that is up to elevation 12. So the entire lot is within jurisdiction because the entire lot's within floodplain. I put a limit of jurisdiction as far as the work that's concerned with work in the actual wetland. And what we have done is we've worked together with Clipper Landscaping, and Clipper Landscaping has prepared basically a plan that shows some mitigation. The mitigation is to remove some invasive species and restore 1,950 square feet. Then where it's mainly Oriental bittersweet and honeysuckle. So there is going to be basically restoration in this area and also over in this area. And then there's going to be construction of a view corridor. Your regulations allow us to have a view corridor. So in the view corridor is the cross-hatched area that Clipper Landscaping has designed it. It's We're going to prune the area. We're going to replant, we're going to prune the already existing bayberry to a height of less than 6 feet. And Clifford is going to do the work. The staff asked Clipper for a indication of how they were going to do the removal of invasive species, and they wrote a memorandum that says removal of invasive species will be completed by mechanical means. All material as well as root systems will be removed and appropriately disposed of. Vines on existing bayberry will be removed by hand. There's an existing dead cherry tree that would be cut down and the stump removed. So I would be happy to answer any questions that the commission might have. I'm surprised that Clipper hasn't, been attended the hearing. So, is there any questions that I can answer?
Mike, if you could just unshare the screen, please.
Thank you.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm not sure who could be the representative from Clifford. If you had a name, we'd be able to promote them, but otherwise, I'm not sure. But do you happen to have the plan for the planting plan showing the different plant species that are going in?
Hold on. Yes, I do have a plan they prepared.
Okay, yeah, if you could just share that with the commission so they can have a.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't have that. I don't have it in PDF, so I can't share it. It's the bottom line.
No, I can get it for you.
I regret that.
All right. Okay. Can everyone see this?
Yes, thank you.
All right, so this is the planting plan that Clipper Landscaping is proposing. And, staff really didn't have a problem with the species that are being proposed here. The Vista corridor is in an appropriate location. It consists of primarily just bayberry there, and there's a note on their plan that it's going to be kept at a minimum of 6 feet high, which holds true to your regulations. One comment we did have was regarding, I'm going to stop sharing here. One comment we had from staff is that they're proposing to put mulch down in the bedding, and we would just recommend not allowing for the mulching. Other than that, I don't believe we have anything else to say from staff perspective, unless Alyssa has something to add.
No, you covered it, Kevin. Thank you.
All right, so to be clear, that Vista corridor is not to be cut no lower than 6 feet.
Correct.
Okay, just the verbiage that Mr. McGrath used that was contradictory to that, and I just want to make sure that was clear. All right. Maury, we'll start with you. You're on mute.
I'm sorry. The cherry tree, Kevin, are we going to ask for any replacement for that?
It's up to you guys. It's been dead. It's been choked out by the invasives, but if you guys would like to see it, it's certainly reasonable to ask for a replacement.
Okay. I mean, I went out and looked at it. It's been dead a long time. The other thing was the mulch. I agree with you on that. And they might want to put in a cool season grass or meadow or something underneath the plantings to hold that soil instead of mulch. That's all. Thank you.
Peter.
I agree with Maury.
Steve?
Thanks. I wasn't clear on the 6 foot for the bayberry. The regulations seemed good. And everybody else seems to think that they can take whatever you give them. But I asked Maury to agree with that. So I'm okay with it.
Betsy,
No comments.
Courtney,
No comments.
all right. Kevin,
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
all right. Kevin, is there anything in the chat function?
Not at this time, Mr. Chairman. Nope.
All right,
I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird second.
Gladfelter.
all right. We have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Any other comments, questions? All right, Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carla Hawk's eye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. This hearing is closed. Thank you, Mr. McGrath.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, continued hearings under a notice of intent. First up, Cindy Coates, trustee, the 187 Penzance Road Trust, 187 Penzance Road, Woods Hole, Mass. For permission to construct and maintain a 4-foot by 127-foot timber walkway with steps and lighting, to create a 6-foot by 200-foot gravel path, to install an aeration system and subsurface electric lines for pond restoration, to install an E1 pump and force main to connect the workshop building to the existing system, to remove 9 trees and plant 27 trees, to relocate and install 2,390 square feet of mitigation plantings under order of conditions 25-2180 and all associated clearing, excavation, grading, and landscaping. Mr. Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are leaving Mike McGrath in the panelist to present.
And with your permission, can I share my screen?
Yes, sir.
Uh, can you see what? Wait a minute.
We can see your
You see the
desktop.
letter I just put up?
Yes.
All right. We agree with the staff that we forgot to stake some of the mitigation that was revised. So we're going to ask for a continuance, but we thought there was some significant changes enough that we should introduce them to the commission and also to the basically the audience. The project consists of this. It's a peninsula, and there's two different plans because the project's so big. So, I mean, the land is so big. I'm sorry, not the project. So what we've done is we have agreed that before we had a boardwalk that was going across this pond that's in the northwest corner. So we have removed the boardwalk. We have removed the water treatment system that was going to be put into the lake, the pond, to try and restore it. So we are also have changed the plan in that over on this boundary line, we are putting 9 new eastern red cedars and mitigation plants that are in the cleared areas over here. These are clearly within A zones of the resource areas. Before we were showing that there was going to be a substantial mitigation over here. What we've agreed with what we're going to propose is a basically a narrower band. It is. I have known family that used to own this for a long time. There used to be fundraisers at this location. And so I've been to probably 3 fundraisers and a wedding. And in my experience, this was always a lawn area. In fact, I remember back when when we first started getting the ticks and the Lyme disease, how this former owner was very concerned about that. I remember that there used to be a Coast Guard light down here, and that he used to let the Coast Guard, the former owner used to let the Coast Guard come down and basically do the work here. So this has been lawn for was a lawn for a long while. There was a survey that showed that it was there was 2 like driveways. The survey was done by another firm, and it seemed to say that this is a bigger meadow. So what we're going to do is one, we're going to file a detailed management plan of that. Now, we do show that there's trees now that we're showing that are in the sunlight portion of this, as well as the trees that are over at the northwest corner. So the other thing I just want to focus on, that what the major work that we're asking approval for is as far as physical work besides the trees and the mitigation is we're going to remove this cold frame. We're going to connect this workshop. This workshop's going to have a bathroom installed in it, and we're going to put a E1 pump, and then it's going to be connected to the existing wastewater system. This shows you the proposed force main, and it shows you the E1 pump, and excuse me, it also shows you the compass rose. And so we're going to come back, and we're going to have we've hired a Wilkinson, and they're going to help us make sure that these are the appropriate plans. And there's also been an assertion that by the staff that we should be looking to see and perhaps address an area here that lacks undergrowth. So the purpose of continuing the hearing is to address those. Now, as I said, we removed the boardwalk, removed the aeration system, we removed the utilities, we've changed the location of the mitigation, we show the compass rose, the code frame, and we reconfigured the mitigation along the long meadow, and we've relocated the 18 trees. So those are the revisions. So it seems appropriate that we ask for a continuance to whatever would be a specific date that's convenient to the commission. So
All right.
I'm going to stop sharing.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Newton, do you want to start?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll be brief here. Mike, thanks for bringing up the staking aspect. It was the first thing I was going to say, so thank you for beating me to the punch with that. Staff was wondering if there's still going to be a path element to this project. Are you still proposing that 6-foot wide gravel path?
Yes, there'll be between the there's very limited pedestrian access to the beach at the northwest corner. What you have to do is you have to clamber across the tidal flats or the riprap. And so we're showing that there's going to be a proposed path, and there are stakes in the ground, but they have to be moved to we will show the path to be between the top of the riprap and the freshwater wetland. And we will make it as narrow as, 6 foot is probably too wide for that path. It could be probably 4 foot wide. And it is it does provide access that doesn't exist.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, 4 feet is typically what the commission allows on projects, but that'd be great if you could just add that to the plan and make a note of that. Let's see. The other question was, what is the reasoning for moving the mitigation from when it was originally required over near the house to over to the pond? What was the thought process behind that?
The bottom line, it's an appropriate area. It also provides a little bit more privacy for my client. That's where he uses that beach. So, and it seemed to be an absolutely, it's in an A zone. It's immediately adjacent and touching wetlands. So I believe that that is superior to having plants in the middle of the Long Peninsula.
Okay. That's all I have at this time. Alyssa, do you have anything else to add?
Not at the moment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, I see in the chat here, Michael George would like to be promoted. He's the homeowner. Is that okay with you, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, but before you do, I want to just ask on that mitigation from the past, that was never planted, correct?
That's correct. It's a very old order that required that at the top of the riprap, between the riprap and the shed, that there be a strip of vegetation at the top of the riprap. The old owner never put it in because that was the route that the Coast Guard used to get down and service the light, and it's also been historically used. It's the only way to get a vehicle past the house and reach the far side. So it's never been installed.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to hit that while we're on that topic.
Yeah,
Kevin.
it was
Okay.
discussed with the commission before. There was brought up to the commission. The commission's aware that it's not been planted. There's been an agreement that it will be planted somewhere on the
Okay.
site.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. George, did you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, Chairman, and to the commission, thank you for allowing me to join in. I actually just wanted to be, present in support of Mike's comments. So I didn't have anything in particular to add, other than, again, in deference to some of the issues that were raised about the boardwalk, we did remove that from this request, and a 4-foot path is more than adequate, right? As long as people can travel, back and forth without coming in contact with tick infested, growth and everything else, and we can maintain it as such. I think that's more than adequate. As Mike had noted, and I'll just note, for many of you who may even know Ted Fitzel, who's been a fixture in the horticultural community in Woods Hole for, perhaps as many as 50 years. With the COVID in particular, and just in general, as we occupy the home, he used to live on the property in what is now the guest house. But for him to work, he doesn't want to come into our home anymore, and he doesn't have a home on the property. So to use the bathroom, he literally has to drive home and come back, which is a pretty impractical thing through the course of a workday every time. So the idea is to add that to the tool shed that exists there, which is a sink basin and a simple toilet, and that's the primary purpose for it as well. So, but that's it. Thank you very much for your consideration of these requests.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, Courtney, we're going to start with you.
I have no questions. It's good improvement.
Excellent. Kevin?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Maury?
The only concerns I have, I think it should be a grass path and not a gravel path. Just because it's easier to mow it than it is to weed it and spray it and keep it And not only that, but if it's a path to the water, it's a little softer on the feet than gravel. That's number one. And number two, I did have a little bit of a concern with the cedar trees. They're 6 to 8 footers, and they're in a really harsh area. And I'm not really convinced that they're going to be, it's sustainable out there for that size of nursery stock cedar tree. I would rather see more woody indigenous. There's probably a lot of overspray there. And, you know, keep it a little more, something that would be a little more tolerant to the sea spray and the wind out there, and put the trees further up where, you know, near the house where they might be more protected. And other than that, I didn't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mike, you did say that you guys were considering engaging Wilkinson Design in this.
We've already engaged them.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So that would help with the plan.
In fact, they'll be helping me present next time.
Okay. All right. Peter.
When I was out at the site, as I mentioned the last hearing, it looked like on the proposed path, it has been washed out to a very narrow line, maybe a half a foot between the saltwater area and the wetland area. And I was asking last time for some additional clarification of the construction of the proposed path, because when you are filling in either wetland or filling in or renourishing a beach, we don't want it to wash out in 2 years. So maybe you could put something on the drawing to denote the construction of the proposed pathway through the narrow neck of the existing land.
I understand if you go out there, it's eroded. It's eroded kind of a lot. It's a surprise to me that it's eroded so much, but we will show sufficient details that it could be constructed and it should last a while. We may end up putting something like, something to reinforce above the riprap if necessary.
Thank you. No further questions.
You, Steve?
No additional questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. All right. Kevin, is there anything in the public chat function?
Jamie, I have some comments.
Okay, bear with me. Okay, I don't see anything in the chat. Okay, Betsy?
I'm concerned that this mitigation planning, there should be a nexus to the work that was done as to where the planting is. And basically, this is being stuck as far as possible from where it was intended to be in 1997. So I would like to see Mike try to find a place that's more appropriate, so it has a nexus to why it was put as a condition in 1997. And the other comment that I have is the large trees that are being removed. I realize they're in the B zone, and if the A zone were completely vegetated as a no-touch zone, then I perhaps wouldn't be as concerned, but obviously it's not, because there's a swimming pool there. So I don't quite understand the rationale for taking those trees down. They're part of the buffer. And I'm just throwing that out to you, Mike and Mr. George, to think about that.
May may I comment on that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Betsy, thank you for that. The the trees that we're talking about removing, if you look at the plan, you'll see they're sort of dead right down the middle of the peninsula. And as such, they actually don't provide any buffer, to wind in any particular direction. And the idea was to move them alongside, the ridge line, as Mike had originally proposed, and we still propose here, that will actually cause a bit of a buffer, from the wind from the south in particular. We get a lot of southwest all through May. And then in June, we get a little bit of it out of the east. And those trees are actually just in the middle. They're sitting sort of freestanding in the middle of that B zone, and they don't provide any blocking. And so it would provide a little bit of a better view for us out the front toward the vineyard. And also just moving the trees to the side will create a nicer and a better form of buffer. And so our hope was to actually, create that with it. So, and if you look at the density of some of the trees, those pine trees along the side of along the sides as they exist today, it becomes obvious that, they're quite hardy and they're, and there is a level of density in there that it actually does provide quite a bit of nice, protection from the wind. And so we're happy to continue to do that. And increasing the plantings and everything else, I think will help support it. The idea of, as you said, the thought of, planting things as far away as, we've now proposed, it's a small, on a percentage basis, it's not all of it or anything like that, number one. And number two is it's a part of the property. We're 10 acres. And it's a part of the property that used to be connected when Warbass owned it and before the Clarks purchased it. That path used to lead to another part of the land that was a part of the Warbass property, but is no longer. The Du Bois have owned that for quite some time. And so it's a part of the land. It hasn't been planted. It's mowed lawn and everything else. We don't mow it, but it's all kind of low-lying lawn space today, and it just seems like a good, natural, obvious place to, increase sort of the nature and use it for these mitigation plantings. But we're happy to sort of reconsider, reallocating, some of that as well. Thank you.
All right.
Jamie, may I
Oh,
just reply?
go ahead.
So, Mr. George, I just want to point out that I realize that vegetation in the buffer may buffer a house from the wind, but that's not the role of the buffer in the wetlands. It has multiple roles. And my concern is, and Maury could address this much better than I, but those are very large trees. I don't really see how you're going to transplant them. And they have well-established roots. And, so part of the function is, absorbing nitrogen, taking up groundwater, providing a buffer to you if there's a storm, and stormwater rolls up that lawn. So I'm just concerned with that.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, could I speak?
Yes.
When I went out and looked at placing the mitigation plans at what I'm going to call the northwest corner on that up against the Du Bois land, you should look and consider what the resources are. There's a small pond. The pond is brackish, but at the same time, it has both salt water and fresh water. It's almost a barrier. and then there's a very large freshwater wetland beyond it. And it touches a beach. So we have basically, we are putting plans in an A zone to a salt marsh, a freshwater marsh, a dune, and a beach and a freshwater wetland. So it seems to me we've picked an appropriate area as far as mitigation. And the other thing we're going to do is we're going to connect basically a whole bunch of vegetated and wild areas with vegetation. So I think that the choice can be approved by the commission. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so for the record, there is nothing in the public chat function. There was a letter submitted by a representative for abutters, and I believe those issues have been addressed tonight. And since this hearing will be continued, there'll be another chance to comment on anything else. So is there any other comments from commissioners, questions?
Jamie, I would have to agree with Betsy on the trees again, so I just want to reiterate that. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. McGrath, I know you're working on this and you have Wilkinson involved. Just throw this out there that, you know, maybe in the interim is, you know, maybe speak with staff and get some feedback. And just throwing that out there.
Yes, I understand.
Okay,
So,
is there anything else? Anybody? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, I think it's appropriate we pick a date. It's,
Yeah. Yep. Just in the interest of getting through all this. All right, is there any other comments, questions from anyone? All right. Mr. McGrath, would you make your request formal, please?
I would request a continuance to March 31st.
Bird, so move.
I assume you have room on the agenda.
March 31st is fine.
All right. So we have a motion to continue this hearing until 3:31. We have a second.
Second, O'Brien.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to continue this hearing until March 31st. Betsy,
Gladfelder, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawk's eye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve? It is unanimous. This hearing is continued until March 31st. Thank you, Mr. McGrath. Thank you, Mr. George.
Thank you.
All right. Kevin, do you want to? You did it. Never mind. Way ahead of me.
Justin's got it. I can't take the credit.
All right. Hey, Justin, thank you. All right. Next up, David P. and Kathy E. Campbell, 0 Millfield Street, map 49A, 04, parcel/lot 064-001, Woods Hole, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to construct a single-family dwelling and garage with associated paved driveway, crushed stone parking area, retaining walls, to install native trees and shrubs, and to install a drainage system. Justin, would you demote? You did. See, all I got to do is think it, and these guys are on it. You know, I mean, they're just amazing. Welcome, Mr. Bunker. Welcome, Ms. Sprague.
Thank
Who would
you.
like to start?
I'll start off.
How about
What the
that?
heck?
Selfish.
Yeah, unless, ladies first, Teresa. Yeah, for the record, my name is Tom Bunker with BSS Design, and we prepared one of these plans, or two of these plans, and Teresa did prepare the landscape plan. we were here about, when were we here? In December, I think, without Teresa, the first time. And the first project we had on there was more aggressive, not well received by the commission. And so we continued it to make some changes to the plan. I will share my screen now, if that's all right, and then go into
Yes, sir.
what we've done.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'll just kind of run through, paraphrase the narrative. I submitted a narrative with this revised plan, basically because it's entirely different from the first plan. But I'll start off by saying the existing conditions I'll run through are the same. What we have is this property here. It's at the corner of on the north side of Millfield Street and west side of Quistit Avenue. And it's has some topography on it. At the base of this property on the west side along Millfield Street, the lot on this purple line is in flood zone AE, which runs from here all the way down Millfield Street and from Eel Pond up into the Woods Hole ball field. And this bank here is the terminus of that flood zone. And of course, uphill from the flood zone, the rest of the lot above the purple line is flood zone X. I have these two red lines on here. There, a couple houses over, there's a wetland. The tip of the wetland that's back. The Woods Hole ball field was filled wetland, and actually a lot of this area is filled wetland back in the day. And there still is some wetland back up here under our notes where my hand is washing around there. 100-foot setback from that wetland runs through here and does not meet the property, does not get onto the property. And then at the bottom of the page, showing the 100-foot zone A for the marsh, which is down, it's a marsh that abutting Eel Pond down in that location. And it actually turns out that a couple houses over, there is a culvert that starts in this wetland over here and runs south under Millfield Street and out and roughly through that little marsh area that's on the corner of a property there. But these lines are to show you that this area here, the entire lot, is not within 100 feet. Well, say this is a coastal bank that's not within 100 feet of another resource area. And so as such, there is no zone A to this coastal bank. It does have presumably a 100-foot zone B. It's not colored, but it's down here. It's crosses over, this part of the lot plus, all the pretty much a full width of Quistit Ave across there. So they said the purple line is the flood zone here, and in this area, it's most of the lot within the flood zone exceeds a slope of 10-to-1, and so it's coastal bank, and so and also in some areas, in many areas, the slope exceeds 4-to-1. And so the coastal bank in this case runs right up to about, there's a paved driveway to a house that's up in this lot 3. So the coastal bank runs along here, basically along the almost up to the edge of the driveway. And because the flood zone cuts back here, that slope emanating, the 4-to-1 slope emanating from the flood zone ends here. And actually on this point, this side of the property, have a few lines here, but the coastal bank, there is, the flood zone is 13, and there is a lot of this area that's for a short ways up to where it levels off is steeper than 4-to-1. And so this unfortunately, the limit of work is supposed to be an orange color, but it looks very much like brown, so it's kind of confusing. The coastal bank is a brown line through here. And after the first time, I can explain that we did, because of the aggressive nature of the first site plan I prepared, Teresa had nothing to do with it. The coastal bank, we had some retaining walls in there because there's no zone A. I felt we could do more work on it, but because I was not being careful about maintaining a separation from the coastal bank, we didn't exactly delineate it, but after the first hearing, realizing that we could not be on and try to stay away from the top of the coastal bank, we went out several times to do more survey in this location. And this coastal bank through here is slightly different in 1 to 2 feet downhill toward the west from how we had it on the original plan. And so that is a change in the existing conditions plan. I'll note that some of this green is existing lawn, which is basically part of the lawn of the neighbors over here. Teresa will get into some of the natural, I don't want to say native, the vegetation that's on the lot, which is not native. When she talks about her part of the plan. So that's the existing conditions. And so what we are doing now, the plan before, the prior plan had a larger house and we had a driveway going in along the low. So I actually had 2 driveways, one more or less where this driveway is now, but it had a wider opening and a driveway that came down to the low area and a garage built into the hill here, and a driveway with drainage in it. So as you can see on this plan, we've tightened up the site quite a bit. And we have this smaller house. We are with the from the top of the coastal bank, the house is 19 feet away here. We do have a 10-foot wide driveway, 18 feet from the coastal bank here. This is the close point, 12 feet, and back here 11 feet in this location. But we're maintaining a good setback. I think it's an adequate setback from the top of the coastal bank for the house. And the patio, so we have the limit of work. There was a staff question, the height of this wall. The patio is at 14.5. The elevation at the where the wall is going to be, this actually is part of the retaining wall we built in as a little built-in fireplace in this location. That's up to elevation 22. So in this location, it gets up to, the wall gets up to 7.5 feet high right through here. But of course, over here, it starts out at just a 1 foot high and upwards running along parallel to this limit of work. It gets up as high as 4 feet high right through here, 14.5 up to 18.5 in this location. And 4 feet high can generally be done with the stacking blocks without the geogrid or other reinforcement behind it. But here where the wall starts getting higher and it's its highest point through here. And this limit of work might be a little tight, but it's allowing about 6 feet in behind for geogrid to help hold, stabilize and reinforce that wall in the back. A lot of what I've done here has to do with drainage. One part right here, in my narrative, I said that we're not doing anything on the bank, with 3 exceptions. One being this area here where we have no place for, in this limited area of work here, having a place to maintain a dumpster. And because this bank, when Teresa gets to it, she'll talk about the work that's going to go on, taking out non-native plants and putting native plants back in. This is a part of the drainage, the construction period drainage. This is a temporary stacking block wall filled with the crushed stone that the town engineering department now requires as a construction entrance. And this will be solely for the purpose of putting the dumpster on it. Well, primarily for the purpose of keeping the dumpster on it. And this is at the sidewalk level right here. So it goes in even, like at elevation 10.5. But it can also, in case this other extensive drainage doesn't work, this will catch any other little bit of water or silt that might be running down the hill to protect the property, the lower property, from anything like that. And this will be totally removed and replanted with the native plants that Teresa will explain. So we'll have this driveway going in. I can go over to the to explain some of this and go to this other plan here, which is, this is just for the construction period plan. So you see these areas, and these are the crushed stone areas, and this is like the construction entrance that the town engineering department requires. They'll keep mud from being tracked out into the road and keep that clean, and also allow water to infiltrate into it. And after this foundation gets put in, the overdig on the Quistit Ave side, we propose to backfill with the crushed stone because we expect there will be water coming down here and water coming from wherever, and it'll first go into there. This is a solid catch basin, which will take, I doubt if that will fill up, but if it does, it will run into this and then be directed to our leaching system. When it's done, this catch basin will remain to catch any surface water that comes down. It will be, this will be dug out or capped and vegetation put in, and there'll be a vegetated swale running along here that will allow the water to go into this catch basin. This is the leaching structure, which will be put in at the same time as this catch basin. And our sort of schematic plan here. So we have two solid basins with just perforated the leaching sleeves on the bottom. And explain this in the narrative. During the construction period, this upper pipe the lower pipe will be capped. It will allow water to exit this only through the upper pipe. So it should be fairly clean water, because we'll have a 5.5-foot sump where sediment can settle out. So clean water should come in here and be infiltrated. When it's completed, the cap will be removed from the lower pipe. So we'll just have a 2-foot sump. Before that's done, of course, we'll clean out this pit of any sediment, whatever. So this system was designed to address there was a letter from an abutter concerned about overcharging the groundwater and runoff or groundwater going into the basement. And so we see this has leaching only at the bottom 2 feet, which is down near the elevation of the low part of the lot. So it's intended to get any of the recharge the groundwater down low, so it won't mound the groundwater and make people's basements wet. And then this is upon the final construction of the driveway, have a small catch basin with a sump on it with some pipes going into here. So, and this area, they're not shown on here, this will also have pipes going from the roof drains. So I can go back. So the roof drains are shown collecting water all the way along, and one goes into one of these pits. And another one, actually, I think that roof drain goes directly into this pit, and then it can get this catch basin and then carry over there. So we're maintaining the separation. We're not working on the coastal bank, except for the second part of breaking that rule is right in this location where we have the driveway is, oh, way to go, there it is. The driveway coming in right off of the sidewalk. So this is a little bit of coastal bank. It's just barely, the sidewalk in this area, just barely 10 to 1. And so we have a little bit, maybe 8 square feet, is what 6 or 8 square feet of coastal bank that might be altered here, but I don't believe this small area will have of alteration will have any negative impact on the ability of the coastal bank to provide act as a vertical buffer to stormwater damage, and this area will be all replanted upon completion of the construction. And so I think going the wrong way. I'll go back out. So in summary, we've kept this, we've tightened up quite a bit. All of the trees within this limit of work, there's about 30 or so of them here will be removed, and actually all the trees, other than some native trees that Teresa identified over in this location, some oaks and beeches. I think we must have mislabeled some trees through here. Any native species on this bank will be protected. This, I'll take this down and give it to give the screen to Teresa so she can go into how she's going to patch everything up and make an improvement to the resource area.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Good evening, Teresa Sprague with Blue Flax Design. Jamie, can I share my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. I am going to start. First of all, I think normally I wouldn't start with this, but since Tom has already addressed it, we do have a section, that shows the height of the wall. So I just wanted to share this with the commission. This is something we developed. I don't believe it was part of the packet that was turned in. We've got the proposed house. Here's the existing grade that's shown in red, the cut for the patio area. So we're looking at the patio. We are proposing to have a little bit of a built-in fireplace here. So as Tom was saying, that's about the retaining wall itself is about at elevation 22 and then steps down. So you have an opportunity to see what that looks like. And then the slope behind it will be fully planted leading up to Quissit Ave. So I just wanted to share that quickly before we get into the rest of the plan. I'm going to jump right into the existing conditions. I know you've all been out there. You all know the situation on this lot. Basically, this is a really disturbed lot on the corner of Quissit and Millfield. There's been appears to be a long history of dumping yard waste. It's sort of a Christmas tree graveyard. Lots of other debris. Portions of the coastal bank, the area that's called out as coastal bank, contain large amounts of asphalt, which are actually buried into the bank and are completely covered by invasive vegetation. The dominant species on the site are Norway maple and English ivy. We know that Norway maple has allelopathic tendencies, tends to suppress other growth, but English ivy is one of these species that can actually compete with Norway maple, and that's really taken over the entire site. In addition to that, there's border privet, multiflora rose, garlic mustard, bittersweet, shrub honeysuckle, and Japanese barberry found throughout the entire site. We did, as Tom pointed out, uncover a couple of remaining native species, including a handful of oaks, a black cherry, and some American beech, smaller size American beech trees, which we would propose to protect throughout the management process and restoration process. So just kind of quickly going through, you've got these, the asphalt on the bank, the riprap wall leading up to Quistit Ave, the entire area covered with English ivy and Norway maple, as you're seeing west and east looking into the lot. The goals for the project are to increase the protection of the resource area, enhance its value as a buffer to floodwaters, as well as protecting and enhancing wildlife habitat value. So with that, we're proposing to manage about a 13,600 square foot area of degraded landscape, remove the invasive vegetation, and then restore it with a diverse mix of canopy, shrub, and ground cover species. The other important goal for this project is that we understand that for both the property owners and for the abutters, this is a wooded corner lot. Really want to maintain the character of that wooded corner lot and what that provides for both the property owners as well as all of the abutters. So with that, we're really looking to restore a significant amount of canopy on this site, again, as well as a shrub and ground cover layer. So our proposed plan is to really manage the invasive species found throughout the site. I know this is a very busy plan, a lot to read, but we're looking at restoring 30 native trees, 294 native shrubs, as well as completely restoring the ground cover layer in all areas outside of the developed portion of the lot. As Tom pointed out, within the developed portion of the lot, we are proposing to create a little bit of a swale here at the base of that riprap coming down from Quistit Ave to again help infiltrate some of that water before it reaches the sump that Tom's pointed out. Screening is important for both the abutters and for the property owners. So we're looking to screen Quistit Ave and the driveway leading to the north with a significant canopy of eastern red cedars, the corner of Millfield and Quistit with some American holly, and then again, really restoring a mix of appropriate canopy species throughout the site, including red maple, adding in some additional beech trees since we, when we uncovered the beech trees there, obviously they're happy in this area. They're standing tough against all the invasive vegetation that's in there. Understory trees, including witch hazel, as well as holly, eastern red cedar, and white oak. One of the things that we're proposing to do here, again, in looking at this site, there's no succession value at all on this site. All of the Norway maples are the same age class, same size class. The beech trees are the only early sapling to larger than sapling sized trees. So what we'd like to do is really restore not only the canopy, the shrub layer, and the ground cover layer, but also start to consider restoring age classes so that we're encouraging some more natural succession on the property. So we're looking to plant trees from a 2 to 3 caliper inch size down to a smaller 7 to 10 gallon size. And that's all listed out on our planting schedule and the planting plan. Native shrub species that we're proposing here include summer sweet, inkberry, winterberry, holly, some low bush blueberry, mainly in areas under where we're proposing some oak canopy, arrowwood viburnum, some fragrant sumac, basically above the slope here to help stabilize that slope that's leading down to the patio, and some Diarvella, some dwarf bush honeysuckle would be found throughout. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions about the proposed restoration, the proposed patio, or any of the drainage or management issues.
Thank you, Teresa. Mr. Newton?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Yeah, so first of all, I would like to thank Tom and Teresa. I think they did a good job of really reducing the scope of this project compared to when it was first in front of the commission. The staff, Jennifer included, went over Tom's new delineation of the coastal bank, and we're in agreement with his new delineation. They just took a more close, refined look at it when they went back out there. Tom, thank you for going through all the stormwater management scenarios there and really taking a creative approach to this.
I knew it needed it.
Yeah, it's a tough site there with the drainage scenario. But I do have a question. I'm going to defer to the builders on the commission here. Would you guys like to see a cross section of that retaining wall over there? You know, it looks like it's going to be about 6 feet high, I think Tom said. Courtney, Jamie.
Yeah, I would, and I also think we should see some elevations on the proposed structure.
Okay, so that's one thing, Tom, that I think that the commission would like to see.
Building department's gonna want some
Right.
information on that wall.
Right. So that'd be good to see on a revised plan.
Just, Kevin, could I just interrupt 1 second, just to clarify, you're looking for construction detail on the wall?
Right.
Okay, perfect.
Exactly. Exactly. And maybe a methodology for how it's going to be constructed too.
I have a question related to that. So it's a modular wall, correct?
Well, that's what we have down on the plan. I think we hadn't really gotten to that level. Once, not that it was kind of I don't want to say surprise, but and it was a good suggestion by Teresa to work in the fireplace and everything. Of course, once we put in the fireplace chimney, then I think it can no longer be the stacking block wall. So it probably have to be, I don't know if you just build it out of brick or if it has to be cast concrete with some brick or field stone built into it. But I think then we will. It'll probably not be the interlocking wall anymore.
Okay, so get us that information, please, Tom. And other than that, we had a couple comments on Teresa's plans. Staff is going to recommend that there be monitoring reports for this. It's a very large project, pretty standard. And then there was a note that the English ivy would be removed from the site in perpetuity. It's just policy that this commission doesn't allow anything in perpetuity, even the nasty English ivy removal. So we would, suggest that if conditioned, the applicant come back with an RDA.
Yeah, I think that was on my plan, not Teresa's probably.
Sure.
I was going to say, I combed through our plan and we don't mention that in perpetuity, but I will look through it again and make sure that that's not stated in our plans.
Yeah, no problem. One of us saw it somewhere, so I had to bring it up. And that's all we have, Mr. Chairman. So I'll turn it over to the commission.
All right, Alyssa, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I just wanted to add, I forgot to put it in the staff report. The commission doesn't typically approve dwarf bush varieties in their restoration. I believe you had dwarf bush honeysuckle as one of your shrubs. So staff would recommend choosing an alternate species.
Okay, just for clarification, dwarf bush honeysuckle is just the common name. It's not a cultivar. Diabella is the native species.
Thank you.
Good to know. All right, Courtney, start with you.
This is an improvement over the first iteration, and I have no other questions.
Thank you. The big concern was the erosion control, of course, and it seems like you've addressed that, particularly at the dumpster location. There was a little bit of feedback on from neighbors on the dumpster, but we all know that this is temporary, and you've made it clear that it's going to get replanted, or I should say planted, and to use a word, restored after construction. And then the stormwater appears to have been pretty well addressed, I would say, but I'll leave that to others to comment on as well. Mr. O'Brien?
Well, it's certainly kind of a clever solution, but it's I can't think of any other way you could probably build it and get all of the drainage that you need. So I'm content right now.
All right. Maury?
Muted.
Or you're muted.
Sorry.
There you go.
I hate my papers rattling, so I mute myself. Much better project. A couple quick questions. There's no limit of work on the rest of the site, so I'm concerned that with the grades there, while you're grubbing everything out and destroying everything to replant, that there's some kind of we need some kind of methodology of how you're going to stabilize that site, because it's going to be a year before you or at least 3 seasons. You're going to do that probably in the winter, and then you're going to plant the following fall. So it's a long time for that to be bare and grubbed around. Are you going to just flush cut the stumps, Teresa, or are you going to dig them out?
Generally, we flush cut and treat and leave
Okay.
stumps to biodegrade. And we would definitely, all steep slopes will be covered with erosion control blanket, seeded, covered with erosion control blanket. Certainly, we would do silt fence at the toe of the slope. The only areas that we're proposing to leave open as lawn are where we're really tight around the neighbors, where the neighbors have moved or created some lawn onto this property, just to allow them access and circulation around their property so they can get around. We are leaving some very minor areas of lawn around the 2 dwellings just to the west.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, and I don't think silt fence will cut it with that once. I mean, that's devil's in the details, but
Okay.
we can do that in the findings. The other thing was the silt socks. This is a Tom question. I know it says it has to be maintained, but it really needs to be clearly during construction that on a weekly, anytime there's a storm event, that these have to be checked in these in the catch basins. Otherwise, you're going to be having really unhappy neighbors. So just make sure that that's. And other than that, it was just really nice to see that being restored in a lovely way. Thank you.
All right. Peter,
No questions, but my comment is it's much improved.
yes, it is. Steve,
I feel the same. They've done everything they can to meet the requirements, and good job.
excellent. Betsy,
Yeah, I think this was quite a change from the first time we saw it. A positive change. I have 2 questions though about the drainage. Tom, you must have done calculations to size these things. I'm wondering if you could put those in the record.
I can print, send them in.
Okay. And the other question I have is that swale, and Teresa mentioned it too, because eventually, I mean, I guess it's going to be sort of like a rain garden, the swale right next to the house. Is that correct? So you're going to put gravel in it, and that's what you'll have while you're building, and then you're going to vegetate it. You're going to put soil on top of that and put in plants that will absorb at least the first part of the water that comes down.
Yes.
That's correct. Yeah. We're proposing winterberry holly in there so that it will tolerate wet periods as well as dry periods. As we know, it's all or nothing here these days.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, that was you thought through a lot of things. It was nice, and it'll be, when it's all done, it will be a nice section there. Nice native vegetated section in town.
all right. Kevin, I don't see anything in the chat function. Do you agree with that?
I agree, Mr. Chairman. I don't see anything.
Okay, so for the record, there are no public comments. All right. There's no other comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement. Harlow Hawks.
Third, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close this hearing. If there is nothing else.
I didn't think we
Go
were
ahead.
going to close because there are a lot of changes in the plan.
we need the construction details for that wall.
Oh,
Construction details for the wall,
Thanks,
the
Betsy.
plan showing kind of the secondary, what Maury talked about.
my apologies. I will withdraw my motion to close.
Rob, a second.
What was the secondary, what was that, you said that Maury was talking about, needed something?
What kind of erosion control you're gonna have for the,
Oh, for the, yeah, during that, yeah.
It was just
All
such a
right.
nice plan. I got excited.
Yeah. We were gonna let you go with that.
We're almost there.
too bad, I was listening.
All right, what do we have? Kevin, do you know what we have for available dates?
I do. So, we have 6 new notices on for the 24th. It seems like this is, pretty fleshed out. So, Jamie, I mean, what do you think? Are you okay with one more continued on for the 24th? If not, it would be the 31st.
This shouldn't take too long.
I don't think so.
Just a matter of ticking off the list of things that need to be.
I don't think so. So if, the commission's okay with that, we can give them the 24th.
Does that work for you, Tom?
Yeah, that will give us 2 weeks to get the plans to you. That would work, yeah.
Up to you. You can have the 31st if you prefer.
Well, no, I mean, we haven't, that's enough time to do it. I don't know if, Mr. Campbell, if they're in a hurry or not, but if you can put us on there, we'll take the, what do you say, the 24th?
Okay,
Yeah.
is that a formal request, Mr.
Is that okay
Walker?
with you, Teresa?
Yeah, we can get the construction detail done right away. Yeah.
Yes, we'd request a continuance to, March 24.
I'll make a motion to continue to March 24th.
Bird, second.
All right, thank you, Tom. All right, so we have a motion, a second to continue this until 3:24 to clear up a couple of details. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Fellow Hawks eye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. This hearing is continued until March 24th. Thank you, Mr. Bunker. Thank you, Ms. Sprague.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom, you were
Yeah.
last here for this project on November 18th.
It was November, was it?
It was November.
See, it took us a while to get this done for you.
Yeah, well, it was a good change. You did a good
was-
job.
It was a good change, yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, thank you. Good night.
Thank you. All right. Next up is a continued hearing under an enforcement order, and this one is for 51 Pondview and has been continued until March 24th. Therefore, next up, vote, order of conditions. First up, Elizabeth D. Lavka, trustee, Dogwood Realty Trust, 69 Barneck Road, Falmouth, Mass. This is,
Yeah, this is the one with the breakwater, if you'll remember.
yep. All right.
You want the quorum, Jamie?
Please.
Courtney, Kevin, Maury, Betsy, Jamie, Steve, Peter, we're all on it.
Yeah, okay.
I think there were the only few things I remember Jen was concerned about the fence across the street, that she would have to talk to the town if it was in the road layout and they wanted something. That the voids were gonna just be filled with ground, some kind of planting. The breakwater was not gonna change elevation, and to disturb as little lawn as possible. That's all I have on my notes.
I concur with that. Kevin, do you know anything about the town issue?
Yeah, so what I recall was they need to get the town's permission before they do work in the road layout.
Okay, so we need to make sure that's in there as a condition.
Right. Other than
Okay.
that, I agree with Maury.
All right, does anybody have anything else that they would like to see or hear about? All right, Alyssa, do you have anything you'd like to add? All right,
So I'll make a motion to accept as discussed.
Carlo Hawk second.
all right. So we have a motion and a second to accept the order of conditions as discussed. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Was I on this one?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay. Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawk's aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Thank you. Next up, Gerald T. and Margaret T. Robertson, 290 Acapasket Road, East Falmouth, Mass.
okay, this we have a much smaller quorum.
Yes.
The quorum is Courtney, Kevin, Jamie, Steve, Peter. It doesn't include Maury and it doesn't include me.
Okay. Let's see.
Yeah. So, Jamie, this is the dock over on Acapasket.
Right. And I think we were happy with the mitigation plan.
Yeah, the only thing I have is, if there are going to be impacts on South Hill.
Yeah, and didn't Chuck comment on that?
Yes, he said that they would be near impossible to mitigate for.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody have anything? Whole bunch of silence.
Yeah, I mean, mooring field should be depicted on the plan.
Hold on, Peter.
They volunteered for $1,000 donation for mitigation of the clams.
Right. Yep. Okay. So everything's on the plan we want. Is that correct?
Yes.
I mean, I think it was all addressed. All right. What are you thinking? Anybody?
Accept it as discussed.
Bird second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to accept an order of conditions as discussed. That is a positive motion. Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
All right, it is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Thank you. Oh. Next up, Karen Monroe, 26 Ferry Road, East Falmouth, Mass. Betsy, I have the quorum as everyone but Mark.
Yeah, everybody who's here is on the quorum.
All right.
All right.
This is the driveway, right?
Right. The amendment. And Mike had forgot to add or to calculate a few small things, AC pads, a stepping stone maybe, and he needs to get us a new plan. Alyssa, I don't believe he has yet, so we need to make sure he gets that to us. But very, very small.
But he had a lot of, the rationale was that no additional mitigation was required because there was already 600 square feet of mitigation put in voluntarily
Right. Right. So I mean, technically there's going to be X amount of mitigation now opposed to all being voluntary.
Right. Well, I mean, but once that mitigation's there, it's a vegetated buffer.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's protected.
Yeah. Well, hopefully.
Right.
All right, does anybody have anything they want to see on there? Melissa, do you have anything to add? All right,
So I'll make a motion to accept as discussed.
Bird, second.
all right. So we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. Anything else? All right, Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury? Maury, you're muted.
Harlow Hawks Eye.
Thank you. Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Thank you. And with that, folks, we're done.
I make a motion to adjourn Harlow Hawks.
Bird,
Gladfelter, second.
Chorus.
Wow. All right. So we have a motion in 2 seconds to adjourn. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Harlow Hawks Eye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
Peter hesitated. I think he wanted to stay. All right. It is unanimous. We are adjourned. IT, if you would stop recording.